This title is not clickbait, as there's a rather easy way to play as Breath of the Wild 2 Zelda thanks to the mods of Amiibo Lad, Yam Gaming, Know the Other Nate, Horace and Bravely Peculiar. And yes, we will go over the mods as well, but the main goal of this video is to show how much the gameplay and our experience of Era of the Wild Hyrule could change if we play in bigger parts of the game as Princess Zelda of the Wild. After all, most of, if not the entire story presented in Breath of the Wild was connected to Zelda, her struggles, failures, and her century-long battle. You don't have to look further than the voiced memory and Champion's Ballad cutscenes to realize that. Zelda is present in nearly all of them, and it is her, not Link, who was the focus of the story, and more importantly, the only character throughout the entire game with major character development. But will this also be the case in the sequel? Most likely not, as we learned everything that is to know about Zelda in Breath of the Wild. Her birth, loss of her mother at the age of 7, struggle to unlock her sacred power, failures and immense pressure, passion for science, friendship, loss, renewed hope, and finally defiance and courage against Calamity Ganon. The build-up of Zelda's character was unprecedented in the series' history, as no other Zelda has had anything close to a backstory as rich as the Princess of the Wild. No doubt, Zelda, the Sealer of the Calamity, has completely different importance than any previous princesses, and it appears that this entire story is centered around her. We see her going from a peaceful scientific nerd bound by her royal duties to a battle-hardened, soon-to-be a queen who is in love with her appointed knight. This Zelda is greatly impacted by the event that forever changed her and made her determined to bring down the Calamity and now its creator, the one imprisoned individual who took everything from her. And obviously, this brings up the question, will Princess Zelda be playable? And if so, then how? We see two possibilities, either as a very overpowered character much like Witcher 3's Ciri, which used magical powers and destructive attacks to obliterate opponents. In Zelda's case, this will be her sealing power. The second option is that she becomes the main playable character in major chunks of the game. Hence, Zelda could become a customizable and unique character equal to Link in Breath of the Wild. And what can short-haired Zelda offer from a visual and gameplay perspective if playable and customizable? To illustrate, we'll be using the current Zelda of the Wild mods, which combined have created a completely different Breath of the Wild experience with a whole new character model and clothing exclusive to Zelda. So let's start off with the visual side and then move over to Zelda's gameplay possibilities. Starting off with Underwear Zelda. Just joking, we're starting from the skin and up and then covering it all up. You can call it CR's Zelda fashion show if you would like. Cue the music. First up, Zelda's royal blue Fieldwork outfit. This tunic has, as we all know, been confirmed to reappear in Breath of the Wild sequel. No wonder why it is back though, as this is Zelda's by far most comfortable tunic for outdoor and underground exploration, and the dress that puts her on an equal level to the other champions. Despite not being restrictive, this set is very elegant thanks to its gold finishes, which highlight that this is no ordinary champion tunic, but rather that of the princess. Despite remaining pretty much unchanged, we know that it now also includes the Hylian hood, which obviously would serve no purpose unless Zelda cut her long hair. Then there is the question, will Zelda have any other outfits such as the Divine White Maiden outfit, which Zelda wore while praying, training to unlock her sealing power, and finally when she used that power against Calamity Ganon. This apparel is likely a thing of the past, as for Zelda it both represented her failures, but also awakening, and finally battle and victory against Calamity Ganon. Another outfit that is most likely not going to show up in Breath of the Wild 2 is Zelda's royal formal wear. The Kingdom of Hyrule died 100 years ago, and unless it is fully resurrected at the end of Breath of the Wild, with Zelda as its queen, it is highly unlikely that we'll see the dress of Zelda's burdens reappear, and then definitely not in a gameplay setting. That would be it for Zelda's outfits from Breath of the Wild that could appear and has already been modded in, if it wasn't for probably the most gorgeous winter coat seen in a video game. As Zelda's Champion's Ballad Royal Winter outfit is absolutely gorgeous and much more pleasing to the eye than Link's Snow Quill set. White and gold is indeed a pure and stunning combination that we hope will return for use in Hebra and other cold parts of Hyrule if Zelda is playable. Now then, that covers the outfits worn by Zelda in Breath of the Wild and DLC Pack 2, but what are sequels all about? Expanding, and in this case, we wouldn't be surprised if we will see special Sheikah, Zora, Goron, Flamebreaker, and Gerudo sets for Zelda. The modding community has already provided their suggestions, which look surprisingly good, so we're interested to see what the Zelda team can come up with. No doubt, the possibility for a whole new wardrobe for Princess Zelda, including dresses of past princesses, is an argument in favor of making the short-haired Zelda playable. But do you know what is even more crucial? A new gameplay experience that will change how we traverse Hyrule, solve puzzles and battle enemies and bosses. In this regard, we can't get away from talking about which weapons Zelda of the Wild could wield. Which brings up the question, should Zelda even wield any weapons beside items like her Sheikah Slate and the torch she held in the reveal of Breath of the Wild 2? After all, she was more into science than fighting 100 years ago. But that approach changed radically when the Calamity wiped out everything she loved, her father, her friends and almost even Link. As we all know, it was her feelings for Link that finally unlocked her sealing power, which is so great that it up to now has destroyed countless guardians, held the Calamity for a century, and sealed away Dark Beast Ganon. Zelda in Breath of the Wild was powerful, god tier powerful. Yes, perhaps she even held a Triforce within her, but the Calamity was one thing. Ganondorf, on the other hand, is an entirely different beast, who can only be killed by the fully powered Master Sword. In other words, only Link, not Zelda, can defeat Ganondorf. Ganondorf knows this, as this is not the first time he faces a hero and the Princess of Hyrule. Hence, this might be why he this time could take Link as a prisoner instead of the princess, as we all know how taking Zelda hostage has never gone well for Ganondorf. With that being said, Zelda is no stranger with the Master Sword as she returned it to its pedestal in Korok Forest. Anyhow, let's say Link is out for some time. Which weapons could Zelda then use if the sealing power is exclusively reserved to, say, I don't know, finishing off bosses? One example, beside the obvious Bow of Light, would be a thinner sword or rapier, similar to the ones wielded by Zelda in Twilight Princess and Zelda of the Wild in Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. This could be Zelda's staple sword, but would it break? That is the question. The answer is simple, as even the fully powered Master Sword breaks in Breath of the Wild. Instead, we should ask the question of how durable weapons could be if wielded by Zelda. Will swords, shields, spears, knives, sabers and so on last longer than what was the case with Link? After all, when enemies wielded the same weapons as we did, the durability was infinite. It will be interesting to see how weapon durability could change in the sequel, as it is a very requested alteration. So we got apparel, weapons and weapon durability, which leaves us with health, stamina, puzzle and combat skills. Zelda's health is no doubt lower than Link's. After all, she was 100 years in a constant battle with Calamity Ganon and is exhausted. How she even is still alive and not looking like Impa is a mystery, unless she, much like Link, kept herself in stasis for the last century. In other words, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with a free heart container Zelda, which might happen right after the encounter with Ganondorf. How she will obtain more hearts? That is a mystery, though it could mark for the return of heart containers as items hidden across the land like in past Zelda games. Here is hoping. The same goes for stamina, which was crucial for running, mounting animals, paragliding, and most importantly, climbing surfaces. In many ways, it all comes down to this: how much freedom we'll have with Zelda if playable. Since if she's only going to be playable in bound sections, say underground, then we doubt that upgrading health, stamina and using a paraglider or climbing will even be a thing. However, if she's playable in the open air without any restrictions, then things can get interesting, since Zelda is then likely to have her own paraglider, seeing that it was the spirit of her father who handed Link his paraglider. As to climbing, it wouldn't surprise us if Zelda might play a little differently than Link. The same goes for a puzzle and combat abilities. Naturally, this brings up another question: will we play as Zelda in dungeons, temples and against bosses in these? If so, then this could be one of the most interesting changes between the original and the sequel, as Zelda might have a completely different approach to solving dungeon puzzles. The physics engine already allow for a ton of creativity in the divine beasts and shrines, but what if Zelda might have some extra puzzle solving abilities apart from those offered by the Sheikah Slate? That would immediately mark for some intriguing gameplay possibilities that will elevate the experience we know and love from Breath of the Wild. You know what also could stand out? Zelda's combat possibilities. We have mentioned weapons, but what about advanced combat techniques? After all, Link's attack range focused closely on timing with a rather simple combination of flips to trigger arrow time in addition to jump strikes and spin attacks. Many of us miss the more complex techniques found in the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and hope to see some of them return in the sequel. If not for Link, then maybe for Zelda. Finally, we need to ask what powers could replace the ones of the champions. This is another mystery that I hope we can get an answer to, though I have a feeling that we might have to wait until the game releases. At the very least, we now see what sort of impact and difference Playable Zelda can offer from a visual standpoint and gameplay perspective. A completely different experience indeed, which makes sense as Zelda has so much potential to expand upon, as proven by the modding community. With that being said, it has been very fun exploring the probability and gameplay possibilities of Playable Zelda of the Wild. But this is also where we need to stop, since this is currently only a theory, which we have to wait to be confirmed by the Zelda team in a future trailer or gameplay showcase. So for now, this is the last Breath of the Wild 2 Playable Zelda video unless Nintendo announces it. Luckily for all of you, we have plenty of Zelda videos coming up both in regards to Breath of the Wild 2 and past Zelda games. So make sure to leave a like, subscribe and press that shiny notification bell for all notifications if you haven't already. Finally, a big thanks goes to Troll Squad for helping us with setting up this video and all our great patrons on patreon.com/commonrealm that make this all possible. Hopefully you can join them too, or by pressing the join button here on YouTube. Until the next video, this was Conrad of the Commonwealth Realm, and please enjoy one of these two awesome videos.